everyone. This is IE,
This is Edward.
and welcome to this special mix-exclusive interview. We have an 88 Rising artist coming straight from Houston, Texas. He just released his brand new EP Band-Aids featuring the viral tracks Less of You, Blue, and Right Here. And actually, according to Spotify data, our city, Quezon City, ranks 5th in the top cities that stream his music. So, guys, we are so excited to have him here with us, talking to us. Let's go. Let's introduce him for a mix-exclusive interview. We have Keshi. Hi, Keshi.
Hi guys, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show, man. I can't say. Quezon City might be in the top 5, but I think after the next couple of weeks, especially since we're all in quarantine, it's gonna move to like maybe top 3, since I'll be streaming a lot. So thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being one of the pure English interviews that I can do.
Is this a rare thing? Is this a rare thing?
Not really,
Kinda.
but it's yeah, maybe in a way.
We
But
can
how
speak
are you?
if you want? I know some.
Tagalog?
No way.
Oh.
I know.
Well,
So some background. I worked as a nurse for a couple of years as an oncology nurse, and there were a slew of Filipino mommy nurses who took such great care of me while I was on the floor, and I loved them, and they made me like pancit and stuff like that. They would like bring it to work.
that's the most one of the most Filipino mom things to do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Others.
I had never gotten like a taste of the culture like I did like when I was like working there. So I mean, yeah, I think they would be very proud to know like the progress that it's kind of making over there. So yeah.
Well, I'm sure they are more aware than you think they are.
Oh, you think so?
Word really spreads quickly here in the Philippines.
Oh yeah.
But I just want to ask, since you're in the U.S. at the moment, of course, we all know there's a situation, a certain situation going around the world. How is the situation with COVID-19 over in the U.S. or around?
So, I mean, the U.S. is humongo. So, I mean, in where I'm at in Texas, it doesn't feel like it's like as crazy as New York at the moment. For me personally, I'm just quarantining, staying in my house and everything, and it doesn't feel like that much has changed for me because I'm a studio rat anyways. Like I only stay here and I work anyways, and I lock myself in my room and I work by myself. So it's not like I was ever dependent on like reaching out to somebody else and being like, hey, like, are you ready to like meet up? Right? Like, no, I've always just kind of been in my room.
So have you had a chance to make more music? Can we expect more music in the future?
Yeah, actually the next record is, I would say like 4 out of like it's like halfway, a little over halfway done. So yeah, we're on the way in terms of writing. The next single is done. It's done.
Okay.
So I'm excited to get that out to you guys as soon as possible. Yeah.
I have a recently you were part of 88 Rising presents Asia Rising Forever, and you were part of that. Actually, one of our very own pwede sabihin countrymen, Inigo Pascual, was part of the roster, the amazing roster of artists that was
yeah, it was crazy.
So I just wanted to ask, how is it getting like the call saying like, hey, because this is like even in the intro of the video it said, or of the live stream it said like presenting some of the hottest talent in Asia, and you consider that. So how did that feel getting that call?
Yeah, it was insane. Of course, I've been like aware of 88 Rising ever since like they came out. I mean, they were starting to put out content when like I think either at the same time I started Keshi or maybe a little bit before.
Like, hey, 'cause this is like
yeah, and I was like so it's such an honor to be a part of it, honestly. So yeah, I remember my manager had hit me up saying that he and them had started having talks and everything, and I remember feeling really excited because it's just such a cool cast to be part of.
And actually, you even trended yesterday because of your performance in 88 in the 88 Rising event. And We were so amazed with your performance. And how do you feel now that you've done that? And are you looking forward to similar performances online?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was so surprised that the reception was so good. Like, I was actually taken aback. I remember having recorded it and thinking like, oh, like maybe I should have, sing it this way, or maybe I should have done it this way. Like you always have like the hindsight sort of thoughts. But I remember watching it live, like on my TV when it was like playing, and I was like, oh man, like I actually did pretty good here. I was pretty proud of it. Um, yeah, and after having it aired, like I was kind of I'm kind of just excited to just have live shows again. Honestly, I mean, there's nothing quite like it, but I mean, at the moment, we can't. We have to deal with what we got, right?
Of course. Actually, there were a few questions that I wanted to get into, but I want to prioritize other questions because I want to make the use of every second that we have here. So I just wanted to. It's sort of like it's not really a challenge or a game,
Yeah,
but I'm gonna say a couple of words. I just want you to tell us the first thing that pops into your head or the
you're
first
so
word.
bad.
So, for example, you
I have
say,
an awful filter.
"Oh, that's perfect. That's great. That's great. It will work better even." So, for
All right,
example, I say day, you say
night.
there you go. So, the first word is gonna be SoundCloud.
Oh, lo-fi.
GarageBand,
Logic.
laptop producer.
Bedroom producer.
I mean, like honestly, I heard a story, and the reason I asked you to for this is because I heard a story that you wanted your mom to get you a laptop before
Yeah,
because GarageBand was on the laptop. If I asked for a laptop, I would be asking for video games.
right,
So
right,
like
right.
you were asking for like for GarageBand. So
No,
tell us
tr-
how that started
yeah.
with music.
So, oh man, nobody's ever asked this question before. So, back when were covers really popping on YouTube? It was like 2000. Damn, I think I must have been like seventh grade, like seventh grade. So, I can't remember
2010.
what
No.
year that was. I was born 94. What were you guys born?
2000.
91.
91. Okay, so somewhere in
Uh-huh.
between that. Well, somewhere in that like 2000s era, where I was watching a lot of covers. Like there was like AJ Raphael and like David Choi and like all those Asian Americans who were like posting those covers. And some of them would do these things on, like Mac was like really big back then, right? It was trying to like really break out. They would make these videos of them where the video was like split into 4 quadrants, and one of them was like doing a shaker, one of them was singing, one of them was playing the guitar.
Yeah.
And it was very visually apparent that like they were doing different recordings, like
Mhm.
and they were layering them somehow. And as a little kid, I was like, how are they doing that? And I figured like GarageBand was probably like the only software in the world that could do that. So I remember having watched so many videos, I went to my mom and I was like, hey, like, I know I have some money saved up. And I know that,
Mhm.
Christmas is coming up and we're about to go to California for it. And the families, they've run out of ideas. By the time you're a teenager, they've run out of ideas of what to give, except it's,
Yeah.
it's like money, right? So I compiled both my savings and the money I got from, Christmas and everything. And I went and I got a MacBook because I wanted GarageBand to try to emulate those covers and stuff.
Wow. I mean, again, I would have used that, my money. I mean, up until now, I'm asking my mom for like, hey, video games.
Video
But
games. I mean, I was the same until I was like, I don't know, like 14 or something. So I
but
get it.
speaking of it, I mean, like I have my own, and many people have their own like gamer tag and like their gamer name. And I
Right.
was wondering when I was thinking about that, I wondered why the name Keshi? Because I heard again like it's a not really an alias but a name. So
Yeah.
where did
No,
that stem from? Like,
yeah. So that is the perfect way to describe a gamer tag name because I think when I tell this story, it's hard to really get it across that it was really not supposed to be a stage name. It was supposed to be just an anonymous username. I made a lot of acoustic music before I made Keshi. I was really
Mhm.
inspired by like John Mayer and Ed Sheeran and Jason Mraz and
mm,
that was the like. So I made music under my own name, but there came a point where I got kind of tired of it and I wanted to try something different. And I didn't really know what that was. I wanted to make music that was full sounding. And I didn't know how to do that without um, producing. I didn't understand what producing was. So when you only hear a song with like an acoustic guitar, your ears get tired of it. So when I figured out how producing works in like Logic and GarageBand, like how you program MIDI and how you like control the sound waves and everything in order to make things sound full, I want to give it a go. But no matter what, when you start out at something, you're going to be kind of bad at it.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to like do that in the I guess like in the forefront like of my peers. I wanted to do it in a way where I could kind of hone myself without their scrutiny. But also there was something special to me about having attention from people who weren't just your friends. So I wanted to garner like some legitimate sort of fans, because the only people who ever listened to my music back then were like friends or family, and they would be like, "Oh yeah, like it's good," but it's different, right? When somebody's trying to save your feelings. So I started Keshi on SoundCloud as an anonymous account, and I would post just like my new weird sort of songs that had these like basic production on it. And there was something really liberating about it. It felt like I had so much creative freedom. I didn't have to be afraid of people judging me and everything. So slowly that account started to like snowball, and here we are. But you were asking where Keshi came from, right? That name.
Yeah.
So Keshi came from, I have a childhood friend, and she is of Japanese descent, and her family is too. So I would go over to her house when we were younger, and we would go play and everything. And her parents would call me Casey, which is my legal name, but they would pronounce it as Keshi. So it's
I see it. That's a great story. I like that
Just
one.
going back to your preference on being anonymous, what made you say goodbye to that?
Oh, the traction started to be a little too much. So it was on SoundCloud when I was posting those songs, I hid my face. Like there would be no semblance of what Keshi looked like. And any album art covers, I made them like a certain aesthetic, like my filmographer and I. So it was a lot of floral sort of pictures, and they were all in film. And I remember telling him specifically, like, man, I really don't like when people like post like their songs and their album arts are just like an Instagram feed. Like it's just pictures of them being suave or something.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be, the furthest thing from Instagram as possible. So that was just sort of my rejection of it, I think. And then there came a time where I shifted away from producing lo-fi music. And it was when I put out a little song called Too Soon. And I remember I was terrified of putting it out. I was so scared because up until then, Keshi had made a lot of really soft music. I know that I make, soft music still, but it was like really soft, right? Like Magnolia and Over You and those sorts of songs. So I remember this was before I had a manager too. So I didn't even have anyone to consult about this. So I was like sitting in my room thinking like, they're gonna think I'm selling myself to pop. Like, and I can't I can't do anything about it. But I remember I posted it, and instantly, like, the reaction from both friends and fans alike was just like that. And I knew I made kind of the right decision in kind of turning my music in a different direction.
Speaking of like the reaction online, I saw a comment. I was watching the music video for Right Here. And there was a comment on the video that says, like, of course you've confirmed it. One of my questions was it true that you were a nurse?
Yeah.
And as you said, it is true. But how did you, like, I just want to make that clear. How did you decide to give that up, which is like a stable job, to go into music?
Right. So it was, I held on to nursing for a very long time, not because I enjoyed the job. Trust me, it's not because I enjoy the job. It's very, very hard work. I actually, long story short, I wanted to study music. Parents said no. Had to find another option. Nursing seemed like a stable enough sort of job that dealt with people. So I went to nursing school blind, I had no idea what it entailed, right? I had no relatives that had ever been in nursing. I just sort of went into it. And I remember sitting in classes, the lecture portions have no reflection on what the job is going to be like. So I had 2 years of lectures and I breezed through them because, you're just like, if you can study, you can do it. And I was like, yeah, okay, look, I can do this. And then came time for the clinical portion. And we were learning basics like, bed making and everything. And I was like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. But of course, it's so much more than that. It's just the basics, and then you start learning how to like administer drugs and like start IVs and everything. So I have done music my whole life and I've always wanted to do it. But of course, I acknowledge how difficult it is to sort of have that be a sustainable sort of career. So I was working on music like as keshi throughout college, and then I graduated and then I started working. And it wasn't until I started working the first year that keshi actually started to gain like a lot of traction. And then at a certain point, a lot of my contemporaries in music were reaching out to me being like, hey, like, we can't believe that you haven't left your job yet. Like at this point, you should be like well off, in terms of like what, you're getting sent from like Spotify, because I was independent at the time. And I was like, yeah, like I'm pretty good. But I'm too scared to leave. Like I was terrified of like, I've always been a part of the one track mind where it's like, solid job, family, retirement plan, all that sort of stuff. But it came to a point where keshi was getting attention from, major labels. And I was getting flown out to New York a lot to go have meetings with people. It really sucks flying out to New York to go have meetings and have your dream dangled in front of you on Friday and Saturday. Getting flown back to Houston on Sunday, waking up at 5 a.m. and getting ready to go to work. And especially if you have a bad day at work, which happened after a meeting, like in New York, I come back and I have this awful day. And the next day I handed my resignation letter. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Not to mention that it felt like I was living 2 different lives, because 3 of the days of the week in a row I would work at the hospital, and then the rest of the 4 days I would take all this pent up frustration of not being able to work on music, and I would just work on music like this. And yeah, I handed in my resignation letter, and the next week I flew out to New York and I signed to Island Records, and that's the story. Yeah, absolutely.
Very understandable.
Nuts.
Yes, you really chose where your heart lies, and that is music. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about Blue and the music video that you directed yourself.
Yes. I don't want to take all the credit. I have a very, very close friend who I work with. His name is Kenji Chong, and he and I have known each other since like high school-ish. Yeah, high school. And he and I direct the videos together.
So I just wanted to ask your most recent EP, Band-Aids. Why was it named? And actually, one of the songs in the EP as well is Band-Aid. So why did you choose to name it that?
So the song Band-Aids happened after a conversation that a very, very close friend of mine had called me in the dead of the night, like 3 a.m., and just told me that his world was falling down. And it was really intimate talk, and he couldn't really tell me what was wrong. He couldn't articulate for me. He was just like, things aren't right. And I remember thinking, like, I wish there was something I could give you that could give you like just this immediate sort of relief. But unfortunately, there's nothing like a Band-Aid that I could just like put over you and just say like, you're better now. So I had to like hang out with him that night, make sure he was okay. And after that call, like I ended up writing the song. So yeah.
Nice.
Took like an hour, I think. It was like 4.
Just going back to Blue, and the music video. What was the concept of the music video, and what images do you want to convey?
I was having a bit of a time, like a bit of a struggle adjusting to my life at the moment, at that time, because there was a lot of change that was happening. I had freshly left my job and I had to transition into being a full-time musician. And having those constant flights in order to have those sessions and meetings and promo and everything, I'm so grateful for it. but dealing with that change, along with the fact that I'm not seeing my friends anymore because they've moved away. I went to university at the University of Texas at Austin. And after my friends and I graduated, they went to Dallas. I went to Houston. Some people went to California. And it was hard for me to deal with. So Blue is a song about missing friends that I kind of wanted to portray that in the video. So it's sort of it's a drama, like definitely dramatized sort of version of Keshi's sort of like move to LA and how he reminisces about, you know, his times in Austin. So the drive is supposed to be that constant like move, you know.
Quick question, bro. Sorry, this is not about the album, but when you were flying all the way to New York all the time, were you business class or first class? I have to ask. I'm curious.
Good question. Yeah.
I was just economy, like just you know.
No way. What?
Yeah, just chilling in economy. I'm not that bougie, bro. I'm just trying to get to point A to point B, you know.
Yeah, but like now I'm kind of like, okay, so when I book my next flight after all this pandemic is over, I'm gonna book it in economy just in case.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Speaking of random questions, we have a question from one of the people, or one of your fans who are tuned in right now. They're asking about your collab with Lainey. So, can you give us an update about this?
I can't give you an update about it. All I can say is that I can't say anything about it. It's not my place to talk about it. So I'll leave it at that. But it was not on the progress of it, but I will say that working with I worked with Paul Jason Klein. We met in the studio in LA together. He had listened to Too Soon and he was a fan of it. And I was already going to make my way to LA for some sessions. So we made some time to hang out during that time. And he is the sweetest human being on earth. And he is 1,000 times more handsome in person.
Before that, did you know about Lainey? Like, what did you think of their music?
First of all, I love their music. I loved the Malibu Nights record so much. I actually have it on my wall. It's right there.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
Oh wow.
So
did you get that when you met Paul?
No, I didn't. I got it afterwards because I hadn't moved into the studio yet.
Oh, okay.
But on the question of whether I listened to him before, I actually didn't. I actually have a lot of friends who have listened to Lainey like high school, like college era. And they just missed me. Like I just had never heard of them before. And it wasn't until like probably 2 weeks before Paul had like posted my song on Instagram that I found Malibu Nights, like the single Malibu Nights. And I remember hearing it for the first time thinking like, wow, like this is amazing, you know? I started listening to the whole record. So I had only heard of them for about like a couple of weeks until he reached out. And it was a really weird coincidence of timing. Because I remember when he texted me, I was just like, whoa, like this is crazy, you know?
I mean, I think that's awesome in a way. And I'm sorry, I mentioned a while ago that there are some questions at the beginning of this interview that there are some questions that I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
And since we've talked about certain things so far, I'm gonna be selfish and pull out a question that's on my mind, not anyone else's. But you talked about how Right Here in a past interview is actually the sequel to a song called Summer, which is one of your earlier songs.
Right.
And if anyone hasn't listened to it so far, listen to it now, because like you mentioned, even in the song that it's a 3 months period, that you're with a special someone.
That's right.
And then you talk about it again in Right Here. I just wanted to ask, with all the traction and all the eyes on you at the moment, is there does that person know that song is about her?
Summer and Right Here are so straight out of my life. They are so biographical. There is no way that like you can like listen to that song when it happened to you and not be like, hey, this sounds familiar, you know? There are certain lines in Summer that kind of just like elicit a certain like response like right away. And she texted me about it. And she said, hey, where do you get your inspiration for your songs? And I was like, real life. And she's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, oh, so what's this song about? And that particular song that she asked about was written about my brother. And she was like, oh, okay, so what's the song about? I was like, oh, it's about, my brother Alex and his relationship. And she was like, okay, what's Summer about? And I was like, oh.
Straight to the point.
I was like, all right, you got me. So yeah, Right Here came out and she was like, hey, is this one about me too? And I was like, yeah, I mean, it is. And I was like, don't take anything like too personally or too close to the heart, because I mean, thank you for being my muse. And of course we're still good friends now. So like everything's cool. And she came out to my shows and when I was on tour in New York. And it was a nice little moment when I got to say like, hey, like this person's in the crowd right now. So, give me a little shout out.
There's something that we call kilig in the Philippines, and it's like that warm fuzzy feeling that you get in your stomach. Yeah. And I'm sure she was feeling that, and I feel so, that at the moment as well.
Yes, that's a new Filipino word for you, kilig.
League. All right, kilig. I got
it. Okay, now we just want to ask you, since you're breaking into the international scene and you're collaborating with some of our favorite artists as well. If you could dream big, like really big, who would you want to collaborate with? Is there any artist in the world that's number one on your list?
I mean, it's gotta be John Mayer. Just like my hero. Like all-time hero. He's the one who got me started songwriting and everything. I would just love to I would just love to meet him, honestly. That's it. Like that's all I would need, shake his hand and chat for a bit. But if there's ever an opportunity to get into the studio, that would be super duper cool.
What would you want to write a song about if you could?
Man, I would like to write a song about, what would I
like 5 minutes? You see him in the elevator. You're like, okay, I want to write a song. I'm gonna pitch it to you right now. This is the idea. What would you do?
This is so song about. It would have to be a love song. I think it would be a love song. A lot of his songs on Moving On and Getting Over, which is right over here on that top record. Right? A lot of them do deal with like heartbreak and just like moving on like from relationships. So I think that'd be pretty dope.
We really appreciate the time that you've been able to spend with us today. And
we're gonna look forward to the John Mayer collab, by the way.
Yes, that's me.
I mean, me especially, if anyone. Thank you very much, Ai, for making sure before the call started that she made sure to mention that I'm medyo fanboying ako ng konti. I just want to ask, are there any plans, of course, when everything's okay, of coming to the Philippines and playing a few shows here?
So there aren't plans yet, but of course I would want to go to the Philippines, go play some shows there. I have to go visit you guys. Like I have to go meet you guys in person too. So I mean, I'd love to see you guys out at a show. And yeah.
Well, there are a lot of your Filipino fans who are tuned in right now. What is your special message for them?
To everyone who is in the Philippines and listens to my music, thank you so much. It blows my mind that my music can reach all across the world. I just make music in my home studio in Houston, so it's the craziest thing to me. I love you guys, and I hope to see you guys soon.
And since we love your music so much, where can we follow you on social media, online, to keep in touch with what's going on in your life and the music that you're producing?
For sure. You can follow me on Instagram at keshi, and on Twitter at keshi music, and on YouTube as keshi. So I hope you guys take a listen, and thanks so much.
And
one last thing.
Okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
Just so your Filipino fans who are tuned in right now will feel kilig, can we teach you how to say I love you in Filipino?
Yes.
Okay, it's mahal ko kayo.
Mahal ko kayo.
Yes,
First
perfect.
Time, honestly, probably better than a few others that we've thought that too. But last off, as we end this interview, I just want to read to you that comment on your music video that I mentioned earlier, and it says, "Fun fact: Keshi used to be a nurse. That's why he knows how to heal hearts." Aww. So you've truly done that to many people and everyone that you've reached with your music. And we just want to say that whenever you do come here to the Philippines, everyone here at Mix will be very, very excited. We'll be at the show, and hopefully
you guys
can
there,
talk
man.
more then. But
Yeah,
once
sure.
again, guys, Keshi, thank you for spending the time with us. To everyone watching, thank you very much as well. I am Edward.
And I'm Ai.
And this is an exclusive interview with the one and only Keshi. Thank you, everyone. Thanks
Keshi.
Keshi.
Bye.
I had a lot of fun later, guys.
Yay.
Yeah.